John 12:7. Dixit ergo Iesus, sine illam, ut in dies sepulturae meae seruet illud. Therefore Jesus said, Leave her alone, since she kept it for the day of my burial. Now, this thing that Jesus had said is responding to Judas's questioning of Maria concerning the oil spread across his feet. Now, the thing he actually said was, sine illam, leave her be. Just a simple imperative verb with a direct object. Now, the difficulties of this verse will be shown in this clause right here. And it is worth noting that we're basically going to be doing a daily dose of Greek today, because the way that we'll be able to understand this Latin phrase is highly dependent on how we understand the underlying Greek, because our Latin phrase is actually the most wooden translation possible of the most conservative underlying Greek tradition. So, due forewarning having been given, this is our underlying Greek. Note that in both Latin and Greek, we have conjunctions that introduce final clauses and are normatively followed by the subjunctive. However, if you read it as a final clause, it does not make any sense. Leaving her be for the purpose that she might save it for the day of my death just does not make sense. So, how do we make sense of this reading then? A large portion of the manuscript tradition drops hina entirely, and in the subjunctive has the perfect tense in its place. There is another tradition that has hoti, then read with tetereken. I couldn't find any Greek version of his homily in this section, but according to Erasmus, John Chrysostom had pepoieken in place of terese. So this is a verse rich with textual variants, and I think that's because the original reading was abnormal in expression. Of the variant readings, I think the one that strikes closest to the intended meaning is the one that involves hoti. So if we're going to bring the meaning of the Greek into Latin according to sense and not just rendering it as woodenly as possible, I think we would have one of these two readings best expressing what's being communicated by the underlying Greek. Since, or seeing that, in the day of my burial, she saved it, that is, the ointment. Or, more idiomatically in English, since she saved it for my death. Or, seeing that she saved it for my death. Another option would be this one we have over here. The only major difference is that cum and seruaverit are in the text, expressing logical connection to the previous thought, sine. If I were to choose, I would probably side with this one. Let this be a reminder to the listener that the Greek New Testament represents a very small sliver of ancient Greek, and it's a very innovative sliver at that, leading up to a massive conservative movement in Greek literature in the early 2nd century. But since it was written in a time and place of massive linguistic change, and social change for that matter, we should not be entirely surprised to see that it has some of those linguistic changes represented in it.